My name is Isabella, and for 10 long years, I thought I had the perfect marriage. To everyone else, my husband, Marcus, was the kind of man women dreamed of: charming, ambitious, generous with his smiles, and devoted to his family. But behind closed doors, there was another Marcus, a man who was never satisfied, who always seemed to want more. More money, more admiration, more excitement, and eventually, more women. I didn't know it at first. Or maybe I didn't want to see it. Because when you love someone, truly love them, you blind yourself to the cracks until those cracks split wide open and swallow you whole. It all started on an ordinary Thursday evening. I was setting the table for dinner, humming softly, when Marcus came home later than usual. His tie was loosened, his hair a little messy, and his cologne clung too strong, as if he had sprayed it again before stepping inside. "Long day?" I asked, kissing his cheek gently. "Yeah," he muttered, avoiding my eyes. Meetings ran over. I smiled, though my chest tightened, because I had heard that same excuse 3 times that week. We sat down to eat, but he barely touched his food. His phone buzzed on the counter, lighting up with a name I didn't recognize: Sabrina. I froze. Marcus noticed my gaze and snatched the phone quickly, forcing a laugh. Work stuff. Nothing important. But the way his hands shook slightly betrayed him. That night, while he showered, I unlocked his phone. I hated myself for it. I felt dirty, sneaky. But something inside me needed the truth. And the truth stared back at me in glowing text bubbles. "Can't stop thinking about last night. You're incredible. When can I see you again? Your wife will never know." My breath caught. My hands trembled so badly I almost dropped the phone. My husband. My Marcus. The man who had promised me forever, was betraying me for a woman who only wanted stolen moments of lust. When he came out of the shower, towel around his waist, smiling like nothing was wrong, I forced myself to smile back. But inside, something in me shattered. And in that very moment, I made a promise to myself. I would not scream. I would not beg. I would not even cry in front of him. I would watch. I would wait. And I would plan. Because if Marcus thought he could betray our marriage for desire and walk away unscathed, he was dead wrong. The days that followed were a test of my patience. Marcus grew bolder. He left home earlier, came back later, always with some flimsy excuse. He even had the audacity to kiss me goodnight, whispering, "Love you, Bella," before turning away in bed. At first, I wanted to shake him, to scream in his face, I know everything." But no, that would only satisfy him. It would give him power, make me the weak and desperate wife. Instead, I smiled. I cooked his favorite meals. I kissed him back. I played the role of the loving, oblivious wife so perfectly that he didn't notice the fire burning quietly behind my eyes. Because I was already plotting his downfall. One evening, I followed him. He thought he was clever, taking a different route, making random stops. But he didn't know I had installed a small tracker app when I borrowed his phone. My heart pounded as I parked a few blocks away from the hotel he entered. I sat there in the dark, gripping the steering wheel, my breath shallow. Minutes later, I saw her. Sabrina. She was young. Pretty. Dressed in a way that screamed temptation. She giggled as Marcus wrapped his arm around her waist and led her inside. My stomach turned. My chest ached. For a moment, I almost broke down. But then, something inside me hardened. No more tears. No more weakness. If Marcus wanted a game of desire, then I would become a player too. But unlike him, I would win. That night, I returned home and opened a notebook. On the first page, I wrote in bold letters, "Operation Cold Revenge." I listed everything I needed: evidence, patience, strategy. I would gather proof of his betrayal, photos, messages, dates, everything. I would build a case so strong that when I finally struck, there would be no escape for him. And I would hit him where it hurt most: his pride, his money, his precious reputation. Marcus thought he was in control, but little did he know, I had already started weaving the trap that would leave him broken forever. Over the next few weeks, I became an actress. The loving wife by day, the silent spy by night. I saved screenshots, copied texts, tracked his movements. Every kiss he gave her, every lie he told me, every moment he thought he was untouchable, I documented it all. And with each piece of evidence, my cold plan grew sharper, deadlier. The first real test came one night when he stumbled home late, smelling of cheap perfume. I was waiting on the couch. "Where were you?" I asked softly. He froze, then forced a chuckle. "Late meeting. You know how it is." I smiled sweetly, hiding the storm raging inside me. "Of course, Marcus. I trust you." His shoulders relaxed instantly. He kissed my forehead and went upstairs. But what he didn't know was that his tie still carried the faint scent of another woman's lipstick, and I had just photographed it. I closed my notebook that night, whispering to myself in the dark, "You betrayed our marriage for desire, Marcus. But when I'm done, you'll wish you never met her. You'll wish you never crossed me." I stared at the growing pile of evidence in my drawer, my heart cold and steady. The trap was almost ready. And soon, Marcus would fall into it so hard. He wouldn't even see it coming. If there's one thing I learned about betrayal, it's this: cheaters always think they're the smartest person in the room. And Marcus was no exception. He walked around with a smug grin, convinced that his little secret affair was buried under my blind trust. He thought he had me wrapped around his finger, his loyal, clueless wife. But what he didn't know was that every smile I gave him, every kiss I returned, every word of "I love you" was just another layer of the mask I wore. Because behind that mask, I was sharpening the blade of my revenge. The first stage of my plan was gathering undeniable evidence. I wasn't going to confront him with shaky accusations. No, I needed proof so strong that he couldn't wriggle his way out, no matter how many lies he spun. I bought a second phone, one Marcus didn't know about, and installed hidden recording apps. I even hired a private investigator, a quiet man named Leonard, who specialized in catching wandering husbands. Leonard didn't ask many questions. He simply said, "Give me a week, and I'll give you enough to bury him." And oh, did he deliver. Photos of Marcus kissing Sabrina in parking lots. Receipts from expensive dinners and hotel rooms. Even videos of him holding her hand like she was the love of his life. Each new piece of evidence stabbed me in the heart, but I forced myself to keep looking. Because pain wasn't my enemy anymore. It was my fuel. The second stage of my plan was securing my escape route. I opened a secret bank account. Every time Marcus handed me grocery money or household cash, I took a little extra and tucked it away. I contacted an old friend in real estate and quietly began searching for a small apartment under a false name. I didn't want to leave empty-handed. If Marcus thought he could toss me aside like yesterday's news while living happily ever after with his mistress, he was gravely mistaken. One evening, while Marcus was working late, I sat across from Leonard in a quiet cafe, going through the thick folder of evidence he had gathered. Leonard looked at me carefully. "So, what's your next move? You've got enough here to ruin him, legally, socially, financially." I sipped my coffee slowly. "Not yet. Timing is everything. He needs to feel untouchable first. That way, when I strike, it'll destroy him completely. And destroy him, I would. Because fate handed me the perfect opportunity. It happened one night when Marcus came home unusually cheerful. He swept me into his arms, kissed me on the cheek, and said, "Bella, I've got amazing news. The promotion I've been waiting for, it's finally happening. They're considering me for vice president of the company." I forced my eyes to widen in delight, even though my stomach churned. "That's wonderful, Marcus." I'm so proud of you. He grinned, his chest puffed out with pride. There's a dinner next month with the board members. Spouses are invited. You'll come, of course. I smiled sweetly. Of course, darling. But inside, I was already smiling for another reason. Because that dinner would become the stage for his downfall. Over the following weeks, Marcus became even more careless. He showered Sabrina with expensive gifts, bracelets, designer handbags weekends away. I knew because I had the receipts. He even dared to use our joint credit card once, as if I wouldn't notice. When I confronted him lightly about the strange charges, he shrugged it off. Oh, I bought some things for work. Don't worry about it. And I nodded like the trusting wife he thought I was, even as I snapped photos of every statement from my growing file of evidence. The closer the promotion dinner drew, the bolder Marcus became. He started treating me like a piece of furniture, barely looking at me, barely speaking to me, except when he needed me to smile for appearances. But that was fine. Because the colder he became, the colder my revenge grew. A week before the big dinner, I made my first small move. I accidentally left his phone unlocked on the counter, Sabrina's messages flashing across the screen, when his best friend Daniel came to visit. Daniel's eyes widened as he read the flirtatious words. He looked at me, confused, but I just smiled and said, "Oh, Marcus must have left his work phone out." Men and their endless emails. I knew Daniel wasn't stupid. He'd put the pieces together. And once whispers began spreading among Marcus's circle, his perfect image would already start to crack. But I wasn't done. The night before the dinner, I carefully packed my bag with everything I needed. A USB drive filled with Leonard's videos and photos. Copies of the hotel receipts and credit card bills. A printed set of intimate text messages between Marcus and Sabrina. Each item was a bullet, and I was ready to fire. On the day of the dinner, I dressed like the perfect wife, elegant, poised, supportive. Marcus looked at me with a smug grin. "You look beautiful, Bella. Tonight is going to be the night everything changes for us." I slipped my arm into his, smiling sweetly. "Yes, Marcus. Tonight will change everything." At the dinner, everything sparkled, crystal glasses, chandeliers, expensive suits. Marcus was in his element, laughing loudly, shaking hands, playing the charming future vice president. And I stayed by his side, the picture of grace and loyalty. But as I watched him boast about his devoted marriage and his supportive wife, something inside me snapped. Because this wasn't just betrayal anymore. This was humiliation. And I knew it was finally time to act. As the speeches ended and the champagne flowed, I excused myself quietly and slipped into the hallway. I took a deep breath, pulled out the USB drive, and handed it to one of the senior board members I had introduced myself to earlier in the evening. "Sir," I whispered softly, "you might want to take a look at this. It concerns Marcus." His eyes narrowed as he took it from me. When I returned to the table, Marcus was still laughing, completely unaware that the walls around him were about to crumble. Marcus raised his glass, toasting to his bright future, while across the room, the board members began plugging in my USB drive. And I smiled, knowing his perfect world was seconds away from collapsing. I'll never forget the look on Marcus's face that night. He was mid-laugh, glass raised high, boasting about his dedication to the company and his loyal marriage, when suddenly the room shifted. One of the board members, Mr. Harrison, a stern man with icy eyes, stood from his seat at the head table. He cleared his throat, and the laughter around the room died instantly. "Marcus," he said, his voice echoing like thunder, "a word with you." "Now." Marcus blinked, confused, but still cocky. He placed his glass down and smirked at me. "Probably just formalities, Bella. These old men love making everything dramatic." But for once, I stayed quiet. My heart pounded, not from fear, but from anticipation. They led him into a side room. I followed silently, slipping in just before the door shut. On the large screen inside, the USB was already playing. First, photos of Marcus and Sabrina kissing in the parking lot. Then, receipts of dinners and hotel stays. Finally, a shaky video of Marcus whispering to her, "You're the only woman I've ever truly loved." Bella's just convenient. The silence in that room was deafening. Marcus's face drained of all color. This isn't what it looks like. I can explain. Mr. Harrison slammed a fist on the table. Explain? Do you parade your wife around tonight, pretending you're a man of integrity, while funding your affair with company money? These charges went through your joint account, tied to our expense reports. Marcus stuttered, sweat dripping down his forehead. I didn't mean Bella, tell them. Tell them you knew. Every eye turned to me. I let a cold smile curl on my lips. Oh, I knew, Marcus. I've known for months. I just wanted you to enjoy your last night of pretending you were untouchable. He spun toward me, panic in his eyes. Bella, no, you wouldn't do this to me. We're a team. A bitter laugh escaped my throat. A team? You betrayed our marriage. You turned me into a prop for your ambitions. And now, I leaned closer, my voice like venom. Now you watch it all burn. Mr. Harrison turned to security. Get him out of here. He's done. 2 guards stepped forward, grabbing Marcus by the arms. He struggled, shouting, "No, you can't do this. Bella, stop them. Please." But I didn't move. I just watched as the man who thought he could crush me was dragged away, his proud shoulders slumped in defeat. That night, word spread like wildfire. By morning, Marcus was suspended indefinitely, pending investigation. The promotion was gone. His reputation in the company destroyed. And Sabrina? Well, she was exposed too. The videos made their way to her workplace, courtesy of Leonard's careful handiwork. She lost her job within days. But Marcus wasn't done fighting. 2 weeks later, he showed up at my apartment, yes, the secret one I had moved into after leaving our home. He banged on the door until I opened it, his face a mess of anger and desperation. "Bella, what the hell have you done to me?" he shouted. I crossed my arms, calm as ice. I exposed the truth. That's all. You ruined me. His voice cracked. My job, my reputation, everything. Why? I made a mistake, yes, but we could have fixed it together. I stared at him, my heart hard as stone. You didn't make a mistake, Marcus. You made a choice. And now you're living with the consequences. His eyes softened, desperation bleeding into his tone. I loved you once, Bella. Please. I need you. I can't do this without you. For a fleeting second, I almost saw the man I'd married. But then I remembered the videos, the words he whispered to Sabrina. Bella's just convenient. I stepped back. You never loved me. You loved control. And that's what you've lost. I slammed the door in his face, his broken cries echoing through the hall. But little did I know, Marcus wasn't done yet. Over the next month, he spiraled. He lost his position entirely. His friends turned their backs on him. Sabrina disappeared, leaving him in the ruins he'd created. And then he began trying to claw his way back into my life. Flowers at my doorstep. Letters slipped under my door. Endless phone calls. All ignored. Until one night, I received a message that froze me in place. It wasn't from Marcus. It was from Leonard, my investigator. The message was short, but chilling. Bella, he's planning something. Something dangerous. Be careful. I stared at Leonard's warning, my blood running cold. Marcus was broken, desperate, and cornered. And a man like that? He was capable of anything. And I knew. The war wasn't over yet. I didn't sleep that night. Leonard's message replayed in my mind over and over. He's planning something. Something dangerous. Dangerous. That word echoed like a bell in my head. I'd seen Marcus angry before, furious even. But dangerous? That was new. I paced my apartment until the sun rose, my body trembling between fear and determination. Finally, I called Leonard. "Tell me everything," I demanded, skipping any greeting. He sighed on the other end. "Bella, my sources say Marcus has been meeting some shady people, drinking heavily, ranting about how you destroyed him." He said, and I quote, "If I can't have her, no one can." My heart dropped. "So, what do you think he's planning?" "I don't know yet," Leonard admitted, "but I don't like it. He's spiraling. And desperate men do stupid things." The days that followed were suffocating. Every time I walked to my car, I scanned the parking lot. Every time I heard footsteps behind me, I froze. And then, one night, my fear became reality. I had just stepped into my apartment, setting my bag down, when I felt it, an uneasiness like I wasn't alone. The lights were dim, the air heavy. Then I heard it. "Bella." His voice. I turned slowly, and there he was, Marcus, standing in the shadows of my living room. My breath caught in my throat. "How did you get in here?" He stepped forward, his face pale, eyes wild. "You used to leave a key under the plant outside. Some habits don't change." I swallowed hard, trying to mask the fear crawling up my spine. "You shouldn't be here, Marcus. You need to leave." His laugh was hollow, broken. "Leave? Bella, you left me. You left me in ruins. Do you even realize what you've done to me?" I steadied my voice. "I didn't ruin you, Marcus. You ruined yourself." He moved closer, his tone shifting from anger to pleading. "I lost everything, my job, my reputation, Sabrina. Everyone looks at me like I'm a joke. You were supposed to be my wife, my partner. And instead you destroyed me." Tears welled in his eyes, but behind them burned something darker. "Marcus," I whispered, keeping my distance. "You betrayed me." "What did you expect?" His voice cracked. "I expected you to love me enough to forgive me." I shook my head. "Love isn't supposed to destroy. And you destroyed everything we had long before I exposed you." Suddenly, his expression hardened. "If I can't rebuild, if I can't have the life I wanted, then neither can you." And in that instant, I realized just how dangerous he'd become. I grabbed my phone subtly, trying to call Leonard, but Marcus lunged forward and snatched it from my hand. "Don't," he growled. "No one's coming to save you this time." Fear surged through me, but beneath it was something else, anger. I had played my cards carefully for months, waiting for my moment to strike. And maybe, just maybe, this was it. "Marcus," I said slowly, steadying my breath, "look at yourself. You think this makes you powerful? Breaking into my home? Threatening me? You've already lost everything." His jaw clenched, veins visible in his neck. "I haven't lost you." My stomach twisted, but my mind sharpened. I needed to stay calm. So I changed my tone, softer, almost sympathetic. "Marcus, sit down.
Please.
Let's talk." For a moment, he hesitated. His shoulders sagged, his anger faltering. He sat on the edge of the couch, burying his face in his hands. "I don't know who I am without you, Bella," he admitted, his voice muffled. "I can't breathe without you." It was then I noticed his jacket pocket bulged oddly. My pulse raced. A weapon? I couldn't be sure, but the possibility made my blood run cold. I forced myself to speak gently. "Marcus, if you really ever loved me, you'll walk away tonight. Leave me in peace. That's the only way either of us survives this." But when he looked up, I knew he wasn't going to walk away. His eyes burned with obsession. No, Bella. If I can't move on, then neither will you. At that exact moment, a loud crash came from the door. Leonard burst in, two security men at his side. "Step away from her, Marcus," Leonard barked. Marcus jumped to his feet, startled, his hand moving toward that pocket. The guards rushed him, pinning him to the ground before he could make his move. I stood frozen, my hands trembling as Leonard looked at me with sharp, worried eyes. "You okay?" he asked. I nodded weakly, though my entire body shook. I think so." As they dragged Marcus out, he screamed, his voice echoing through the apartment. "This isn't over, Bella. You'll regret this. You'll regret everything." His words sliced through the air, but I didn't chase them. Instead, I collapsed into Leonard's arms, my chest heaving with the weight of what had just happened. For the first time in months, I felt both relief and terror. Relief that I'd survived the night. Terror because Marcus was right about one thing. This wasn't over. Not yet. As the door slammed shut behind Marcus, I whispered to myself, almost as a promise, if he wants a war, I'll give him one. Because now, it wasn't just about revenge. It was about survival. I thought that night would be the end of it. Marcus had been dragged out of my apartment, his threats still echoing in my ears. Leonard promised to file charges for breaking and entering to make sure Marcus couldn't get near me again. For a few weeks, life almost felt normal again. But I should have known better. Men like Marcus don't go quietly. They self-destruct loudly, and they try to take everyone down with them. It started with whispers. A colleague warned me Marcus had been spreading rumors, lies about me being manipulative, cheating myself, destroying his career out of spite. At first, I ignored it. Lies couldn't touch me. I had the truth on my side. But then, one morning, Leonard called me with a chilling tone in his voice. "Bella, he's digging. Into your accounts, your past, everything. He's trying to find anything he can use against you." I froze. "Can he?" Leonard hesitated. "Not unless you've got secrets you haven't told me." My chest tightened. Because I did. There was one part of the story I had never told Marcus or anyone else. The plan I'd executed to destroy him wasn't just about revenge. It was also about survival. Months before Marcus's downfall, I'd quietly moved money from our joint accounts. Money he thought he controlled. I'd funneled it into an account under my own name, preparing for the day I would leave. It wasn't illegal, not exactly. But if Marcus found out, he'd spin it into something it wasn't. He'd make me the villain. And I knew he was close to finding it. The final blow came on a rainy Friday night. I was locking up my apartment when I heard a car screech to a halt outside. My stomach sank before I even turned my head. Marcus. He stumbled out of his car, soaked by the rain, his eyes bloodshot and wild. "Bella," he shouted, his voice echoing through the night. "I know what you did." I backed toward my door, my hands trembling. "Marcus, go home. This is over." "No," he roared. "You stole from me. You ruined me. And now you're going to pay." Before I could react, he lunged. He grabbed my wrist, his grip iron tight, his face inches from mine. The smell of alcohol clung to him, his breath hot against my cheek. "You thought you were clever," he hissed. "But you forgot, I always win." I stared into his eyes, and for the first time, I didn't see the man I once loved. I saw a monster. And I knew it was time to end this, once and for all. "Marcus," I whispered, forcing calm into my voice, "look behind you." Confused, he turned his head, just in time to see Leonard and two police officers emerging from the shadows. They'd been waiting. Because I had been expecting this. The officers rushed forward, prying Marcus's grip off me. He screamed, cursed, fought, but it was useless. They slammed him against the hood of his car, cuffing his wrists as rain poured down on us all. "This is harassment, assault, attempted intimidation," one officer said firmly. "You're done, Marcus." He thrashed against them, his voice breaking. "Bella, Bella, please. Don't let them do this. You loved me once. You can't just watch them take me away." But I didn't move. I just stood there, rain soaking my dress, my heart pounding with finality. I stepped closer, my voice sharp and cold. "You betrayed our marriage for your desire. You thought you could break me, humiliate me, control me. But in the end, Marcus, you destroyed yourself." His face crumpled, tears mixing with the rain. "Bella, I need you. Please. I can change. I'll be better. Just don't let this be the end." For a fleeting second, I felt the ghost of the love I once had for him. The man I married, the promises we made. But then I remembered the nights I cried alone, the whispers he gave Sabrina, the way he called me convenient. And I knew there was no saving him. I leaned in close, my words like ice. "This is the end, Marcus. And it's the end you chose." He collapsed as the officers dragged him into the car, his sobs echoing into the night. That was the last time I ever saw him. Marcus was sentenced for multiple charges: embezzlement, harassment, assault. His career was over, his reputation obliterated, his life in ruins. And me? I walked away. Not broken, not bitter, but free. In the quiet that followed, I learned something about revenge. It doesn't heal you. It doesn't erase the betrayal or the pain. But it reminds those who hurt you that actions have consequences. Marcus thought his mistress had won. He thought his desire mattered more than my dignity. But my silent plan left him begging for mercy. And that was enough. So if you're listening to my story, remember this. Sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't fire or fury. It's silence, patience, and watching the person who broke you crumble under the weight of their own choices.